Her modern-day fairy tale ended with a fatal gunshot. But how did the Queen of America cope when Camelot came crashing down? Jacqueline Bouvier was born in Southampton, New York, on July 28, 1929, to the well-heeled socialite couple, Janet and John Bouvier Jr. Even as a child, Jackie was precocious, and she was renowned for her charm. A teacher once described her as, quote, "a darling child, the prettiest little girl," but she also warned that she was full of the devil. It's possible that Jackie inherited her vexatious side from her father, Black Jack Bouvier, a well-known gambler and playboy. Although a very bright child, Jackie was known for getting into trouble when she was in grade school. Additionally, her mischievous streak was likely aggravated at age 11 when her parents divorced. Little Jackie may have been fond of antics, but that stopped when she was enrolled in Miss Porter's School, an upscale finishing school in Farmington, Connecticut, known for its stringent academic curriculum and a tradition of teaching exceptional manners. It appears to have had the desired effect on Jackie. In her senior year, she was dubbed Debutante of the Year by a local newspaper. During her senior year at college, she won Vogue's prestigious Prix de Paris competition. The prize was a year-long internship with the magazine, with the time split evenly between Paris and New York. Having recently spent a year in Europe, Jackie turned the prize down. Instead, she went to work for the Washington Times-Herald in Washington, D.C., which turned out to be a fateful decision. It was while she was working there that she met a young senator from Massachusetts named John Fitzgerald Kennedy, and the rest, as they say, is history. Known for her classic style, polish, and poise, the word snarky doesn't exactly spring to mind when thinking of Jackie Kennedy. But from time to time, the former First Lady's iconically gracious exterior slipped, displaying a side of herself that would have been more at home on reality TV than in the White House. In a 1964 interview, Jackie compared Lady Bird Johnson, the wife of her husband's former Vice President Lyndon B. Johnson, to a trained hunting dog. She was also reported to have referred to India's former Prime Minister, Indira Gandhi, quite unkindly.
She is a real cruel, bitter, kind of pushy, horrible woman.
Jackie lived her life in the center of a media frenzy and was notoriously distrustful of the press. Always mobbed by the public and targeted by the paparazzi, there were times when her patience with living in the limelight wore thin. Once, when a member of the press asked her what she fed her dog, she replied, "Reporters." Although much has been written about Jackie and JFK's romance and marriage, what is less well known is that Jackie had been engaged before she met Kennedy. Reportedly, just months prior to meeting JFK in March of 1952, she ended her engagement to a stockbroker, John Husted. According to one tell-all book, the relationship hit the skids thanks to interference by Jackie's mother, Janet. It is said that once her mom learned of Husted's annual salary, she told her daughter to break off the engagement out of fear that he'd be unable to provide for his fiancée. Jackie ended the relationship by slipping her engagement ring into his coat pocket in the middle of their engagement party. Husted later recalled that Jackie not only broke his heart, but proceeded to treat him as if they had never even known each other. Author J. Randy Taraborelli later wrote, "Jackie was not a mercenary person. Whenever she had to make one of those decisions, it was usually her mother behind it." The rumors that JFK had numerous affairs while married to Jackie are widespread and commonly accepted. According to multiple biographies and Jackie's own correspondences, it seems that the former First Lady was aware of her husband's extramarital adventures and may have even considered them an inevitable part of marrying a rich and powerful man. She once wrote that JFK reminded her of her own father, Black Jack Bouvier, saying, "He loves the chase and is bored with the conquest. And once married needs proof he's still attractive, so flirts with other women and resents you." Curiously, it seems that JFK had a fairly conservative view of the roles for a husband and wife, despite his behavior.
But Jack so obviously demanded from a woman a relationship between a man and a woman, where a man would be the leader. And
it's rumored that John F. Kennedy bedded a number of women in his orbit, including a White House intern and the alleged mistress of Chicago mob boss, Sam Giancana. However, the most infamous of Kennedy's affairs was his alleged relationship with actress Marilyn Monroe. According to one source, it was Monroe's notoriously sultry rendition of Happy Birthday at JFK's Madison Square Garden birthday bash that proved to be the breaking point for Jackie. Given the iconic nature of their romantic rivalry, there was palpable tension between Jackie Kennedy and Marilyn Monroe. According to Chris Anderson's book, These Few Precious Days, the final year of Jack with Jackie, the First Lady actually considered Marilyn to be a credible threat, and that the pair even indulged in at least one verbal altercation. Jackie viewed the unstable Monroe as a loose cannon who might go public with the alleged affair at any time. It was her biggest fear that the actress would destroy not only her marriage, but the prestige of the presidency as well. Reportedly, Jackie had good reason to be concerned, especially after Monroe was overheard telling friends she could easily picture herself as the First Lady. Anderson even claimed Monroe went so far as to call the White House to let Jackie know all about her affair with the president. Marilyn supposedly told the First Lady her husband was eager to abandon his family to be with her. Reportedly unfazed, Jackie responded with withering sarcasm, saying that she would happily move out of the White House and leave her husband and all the stress of being First Lady to Monroe. According to Darwin Porter and Danforth Prince's 2014 book, Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis, A Life Beyond Her Wildest Dreams, Monroe's serenade of the president sparked such intense outrage in Jackie that she actually threatened divorce. Porter and Prince report that Jackie's father-in-law, Joe Kennedy, offered her a check for $1 million to prevent her from divorcing his son. Furious, Jackie laughed and told him he would have to offer her at least $20 million. It wasn't the first time Jackie was reported to have threatened divorce, and on at least 2 other occasions, she had to be talked out of the idea by her mother and her sister, Lee Radziwill. Had Jackie actually gone through with divorcing JFK, it would have been a scandal of huge proportions, and she would have made history as the first First Lady to divorce a sitting president. Considering how heavily President Kennedy relied on his wife's public image, this event could have easily destroyed his reputation.
I am the man who accompanied Jacqueline Kennedy to Paris, and I've enjoyed it.
In the dark days after the assassination of John F. Kennedy, Jackie reportedly turned to alcohol and pills. Seldom leaving her bedroom, Jackie was tortured by nightmares and felt she was reliving the horror of witnessing her husband's assassination firsthand. According to Vanity Fair, many years later she explained, "I was not in any condition to make much sense of anything." Everyone around Jackie was acutely aware of her suffering. According to Thomas Mayer's book, The Kennedys, America's Emerald Kings, Jackie reached out to a priest and confessed that she was experiencing suicidal thoughts. She asked him if God would separate her from her husband if she killed herself. Alarmed, the priest began to counsel Jackie on the church's views regarding suicide, but she cut him off, saying, "Father, I understand. I know it's wrong. I wouldn't do it. But it's so lonely out there. If you or anyone you know is having suicidal thoughts, please dial or text 988 to speak with the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. You can also seek help by visiting 988lifeline.org. 5 years after the assassination of JFK, Jackie married a wealthy Greek shipping tycoon, Aristotle Onassis, on his private island of Scorpios. The media went wild, and coverage of the event was anything but sympathetic. In the eyes of the American public, Jackie was expected to carry on bravely as the bereaved First Lady, suspended in time, the living legacy of a presidency cut tragically short. Unfortunately, her marriage to the elderly Onassis wasn't destined to be a happy one. According to reports, her new husband, who was a very superstitious man, never really got over Jackie's tragic first marriage. Convinced she was cursed, Onassis actually blamed her for the death of his 24-year-old son Alexander when he was killed in a plane crash in 1973. Unsurprisingly, mourning the tragedy permanently altered Onassis.
He was a promising boy and a good boy, particularly in the difficult days that we lived.
It was rumored that Onassis was making plans to divorce Jackie, but he died in 1975 before taking action against her. Widowed a second time, Jackie returned once again to New York. In light of all the media exposure Jackie Kennedy Onassis endured in her lifetime, it would be an understatement to say she was fed up with the press. When Newsweek asked how she felt about the media's slew of rumors about her, she observed, The river of sludge will go on and on. It isn't about me. Forever in the spotlight, nearly every aspect of Jackie's life was dissected and discussed. From her fashion choices to preferred vacation spots, the level of scrutiny must have been maddening. After decades of enduring the constant flash of cameras, Jackie did manage to find a small degree of justice amidst the chaos. Paparazzo Ranga Lala relentlessly stalked Jackie, trying to capture images of her in compromising positions. Jackie took him to court and eventually won 2 restraining orders against the paparazzo superstar. Even so, it is no wonder why famous novelist Norman Mailer once referred to Jackie as the prisoner of celebrity. Soon after the death of Aristotle Onassis, Jackie decided she wanted to return to work. At the urging of friends, Jackie took a position as an associate editor at Viking Press, earning a salary of $200 a week. It was the first paying job Jackie worked since her position at the Washington Times-Herald in 1953. According to Sarah Bradford's biography, American Queen, her entry into the publishing world was initially challenged by many. Despite the public's reaction, Jackie found great success and acquired nearly 100 works of fiction and nonfiction over her 19-year career. Jackie resigned from Viking Press in 1977, but she was hired by Doubleday a year later. In her new position, she went on to edit books written by a variety of celebrities, including Michael Jackson's Moonwalk. Years later, when Jackie spoke about her career in publishing, she described it as one of the best times of her life. When Jackie received her non-Hodgkin's lymphoma diagnosis in January of 1994, she thought it would be treatable, although she was receiving chemotherapy and her doctors were optimistic about the outcome. Her condition sadly did not improve. It is possible her doctors were unaware of just how fast-moving non-Hodgkin's lymphoma could be as a disease. And by the time they realized how far her cancer had spread, it was already too advanced for the treatments available at the time to be effective. Throughout the course of her illness, Jackie always remained upbeat and rarely missed a day of work. She died on May 19, 1994, as the press and a crowd of well-wishers waited 10 floors below Jackie's New York apartment. Her son John appeared to break the sad news.
At around 10:15, my mother passed on. She was surrounded by her friends and her family.
Since Jackie's death, her daughter, Caroline Kennedy, has been incredibly protective of her late mother's memory. As part of her ambition to protect Jackie's memory, Caroline recently put together an exhibition celebrating her mother's time in the White House. The exhibit has been shown across the United States in cities such as New York and Washington, D.C. On the other hand, many items associated with the former First Lady may not see the light of day anytime soon. Artifacts, including the iconic blood-stained pink Chanel suit Jackie wore on the day of JFK's assassination, are allegedly sealed in a vault at the John F. Kennedy Presidential Library and Museum in Boston. These items will remain there until the turn of the century, or until Caroline gives the go-ahead to release them to the public.